Okay, we call to order the public hearing on two sanitary sewer extensions, one on Mueller Avenue and one on Boughton Street for the Norwalk WPCA of Monday, May 19th. It was 5:31, and we do have a quorum present. We're going to do roll call. Osterfine, Igneri, Smith, Manella, Dunn. We have 6 out of 9. That's a strong quorum. Public hearing is open. Is there any members of the public that wish to speak at the public hearing? Let's start with A first. If there's anybody here for Mueller Avenue, 2 Mueller Avenue, we'll go in order.
There is the applicant named Nick Wendell, who may be, who should be online if he could be unmuted to speak.
Hi, could you guys hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, my name's Nick Wendell. I'm speaking on behalf of Sean's Lawns for the application to tie into the sewer over on Mueller Avenue from our property on 2 Mueller Ave. The application's fairly straightforward. This is part of the conditions for our special use permit for our site here at 2 Mueller Ave. It was put forward in the original conditions that we were going to have to tie into the sewer at some point. Right now, we're using septic tanks. We have started some of the work inside of the property line to get the force main going out towards the end of the property. However, now we've got to the point where we're going to need to tie in. And yeah, that's about it here. It's going to include adding a manhole out in the road. I think roughly about 50 to 65 feet of sewer pipe, and a second manhole, and then we tie into the existing over on Pulaski Street.
Is there anything further that you would like to add? We're going to speak about this later in the meeting. Is there anything else you want to talk about in the public hearing?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak on the 2 Mueller Avenue proposed sewer extension in the public hearing portion of the evening?
If you are online and you'd like to speak, please raise your hand electronically and then I can unmute you.
Thank you, Daylene, because I can't see that. So
It doesn't seem so, Darren.
okay. Nobody's there?
Nobody's raising their hand.
Okay, so we'll move on to public hearing, public comments for sanitary sewer extension request on Boughton Street in Norwalk, Connecticut. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on the proposed Boughton Street sewer extension?
Yes.
Yes.
We are.
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 folks from the Boughton Street area in the DPW conference room that would like to speak.
Okay, so they are physically present with you. Please state your name and addresses and affiliation for the record.
Sure. Yes. My name is Santos Martinez. I live at 184 Boughton Street. Should we everybody say the name, or should I continue? Yeah, so we're back here to continue the petition for the sewage extension at the end of the Boughton Street, since that stretch has been left on septics, and the current systems are very old in age, and we have a very big issue with water table being high in or lots, and the bigger issue that all this water is really coming from Brian McMahon storm drain that is up on the hill. Every time we get a storm, the terrain gets so saturated there that, I doubted that the systems are working properly anymore because of the water table being very, very high. In 2024, I requested B100 from the health department, and the inspector went over. We did the digging, the test, and the water table was very, very high. So there's no way to put a new system without getting a big amount of material and to install the new one. If they have the room to do that, a few properties on the street doesn't have the room. It's very limited space that they have. So we hired an engineer to, kind of assess and look up the issue, and he does recommend, that the extension will be very, very helpful for us. I mean, it will be helpful for us as the owners and also for the city, because I'm very sure if the project happens, people will think about doing some improvements as well. Since we kind of limit right now to 2 to 3 bedroom houses, and if the extension happens, we could potentially add more bedrooms to our properties. So we're asking the city to help us to make this happen, to extend the sewage line all the way to the end. I believe the last house on the street is really struggling because it's right next to a swamp, and the swamp has been increasingly seeing more water flow recently. I mean, we've been getting very, very huge storm lately, and water is a big issue, big problem for us, and that's why we're asking the petition to get the sewage extension. So HK Association, which is an engineer, did the assessment, and he wrote us a letter, where it states that, in his opinion, it's a very important. I'm just going to read the last paragraph. As a licensed engineer, it is my responsibility to help the public. As such, this office highly recommend helping the residents of Boughton Street, as this is a health related issue. Therefore, it is my opinion that sewer extension on Boughton Street will help the resident and city as well as solve the health related issues. In other words, win-win in all parties. So I think that's on my end. That's what I can tell. So I'm talking to.
Hi, yeah, my name's Sean Rosa. I live at 178 Fountain Street. I lived there for a couple of decades, and it wasn't that bad 20 years ago. Brian McMahon redid their field back a while ago, and I guess they pitched it more towards our properties, which is behind it. And they put that catch, I don't know what the water containment system, that big vat up on the top of the hill there. And it's just holds of water, it just slowly goes down into the earth and goes to the lower levels, of course, which were under the level of Brian McMahon. So it's been consistently getting worse for over the last 12 years, maybe, or so at least. And my next door neighbor, Mrs. Taylor, she's 182. She's got it's really bad. She has basically a river next to his property is the fence line, and it's just flowing. It's wet right now. I cut her lawn for her. You can't even get a mower ever up the side of her property because it'll sink like 2 feet down, and it's just coming from the hill from behind the school, constant. She even did some work with French drain stuff, trying to get it to better, and they had no luck with it. And also, there was the 5 lots that were approved to get built next to my house, 176, I forget, it's 172 to 176 or something like that, the 5 houses. Those got approved like 3-4 years ago, and nothing ever got done with them because there's no sewer, so it's just vacant lot now, and a lot of people are dumping and stuff, and nothing's ever gonna get done because the houses have to be on the sewer system. And there is no sewer system, so nobody's buying the land, it's just sitting there. and people are throwing garbage, everything, there's a bunch of junk out front now. And, that's just how it is up there. Without the sewer system, it's really hurting the whole area. And I'm pretty much,
Thank you,
Good.
thank you for your comments.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Silvia Perez and I live in 188 Barron Street. I'm living in the last house. And like he said, I have a big problem because we have a swamp,
yeah.
swamp over there, especially in winter, it's very bad. Because the ice gets sometimes like 2 inches ice outside and we cannot walk over there because we have ice and it's not water anymore, it's ice. And the problem with the septic is very bad that water is very bad in summer too, because we get a lot of mosquitoes, flies and everything over there because it's too much water there. And with the septic, we have the same problem because, especially in summer too, because we wanna be outside for summer, but the odor is very bad. That's the big problem.
Can we talk together?
I don't believe so.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if you understand, but I don't speak English very well.
You did great.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak on this project?
Mr. Chairman, there's nobody else in the room.
Everybody's had their say on A and B for the sewer extensions?
That is correct.
Okay, it is 5:42. And the public hearing is closed, noting that no action took place during the public hearing. 5:42, we'll now open the regular meeting of the Norwalk WPCA Monday, May 19th, 2025 meeting. So I'm not going to do roll call again. I will note that Mr. Bovee has joined us. That makes us, that gives us 7 out of 9, so we still have a quorum present. And I will ask for acceptance of the regular meeting minutes of April 21st, 2025. Is there a motion to approve these meeting minutes? I see Mr. Igneri first. Thank you. Any comments, corrections, edits, omissions, deletions? Okay, all in favor, aye. I'll call it off. Ostafine, Freyer, Igneri, Smith, Manella, Bovee, done. That is unanimous. Thank you. It is now 5:44 p.m. The next thing on the list is public participation. Is there any members of the public present who wish to speak on anything contained in this agenda? I would advise the people who just spoke in the public hearing, we will give you a chance if you need to ask questions later when your topic comes up, but are there any other members of the public that have anything to add to or talk about on this agenda?
I did forget something, if I may.
Yeah, we're gonna get to your topic. We're not there yet. Right now, this is like a general. Okay. Thanks. We'll
Yes, sir.
give you another chance, I promise.
Thank you.
So,
If anybody would like to speak, can you please raise your hand electronically?
thank you. I was thinking that's good.
There is not, Darren.
None. Okay, so we move to new business. It's 5:45. And item A is approval of the proposed sanitary sewer extension on 2 Mueller Avenue through technical analysis and sanitary sewer collection system and wastewater treatment plant can accommodate the additional sewer flows generated from the proposed connection. Proposed sanitary sewer extension shall be constructed in accordance with DPW and WPCA sanitary sewer permit process and sanitary sewer main extension policy adopted July 7th, 2021. and be referred back to the WCPCA board for final acceptance. And there's a drawing attached in the package. Is there a motion to approve the proposed sanitary sewer? By Mr. Freyer. Okay, is there presentation from staff? on
Yes,
this matter?
Wilbur Drawn here, permit engineer with DPW. Mr. Chairman, items B and C are also related to items A. Would the board be interested in doing one motion for all three items?
All three?
Yeah, would you be interested in reading all B and C? And
Are all of these related, these sanitary sewer extensions, just related specifically to Mueller Avenue, which is A? I don't
That is correct.
see, I don't see something calling out that this B is specific to Mueller Avenue. Or C for that matter.
correct, it's just referring to item A, both B and C.
Yeah, a little confused. Roman numeral 6, item A is related to the sanitary sewer extension of 2 Mueller Avenue. Do I have that right?
Correct.
Okay.
That is,
Can
What
I
is
help
B
out
and
with,
C?
can I
yeah.
help out with that, Darren?
Thank you, Ms. Smith, please.
Sure. So, if the item is approved, tonight, what happens is it has to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission and be approved there. And then if they approve it, then it goes on to the Common Council. So it is part of the process.
Okay,
So it does make sense to me.
we're
I-
only talking about 2 Mueller Avenue.
Mhm.
We're not
Correct.
talking, okay. Okay.
I am
what's
going to
the-
have some questions on this, and I believe Ms. Dunn will too, but we'll wait for
Okay, so let's amend the motion to approve the sanitary sewer extension, to refer the item to planning and zoning, and to refer to Public Works Committee of the Common Council for approval, A, B, and C of Roman numeral 6. I believe Mr. Freyer made that motion. Is that, you good with that amended motion, Mr. Freyer? Mr. Freyer? Anybody? Anybody want to make that motion?
yes,
Mr.
yes, I'm
Ignorant?
good with it. I'm good with it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so we'll stick with Mr. Freyer, I guess, since he was first. Okay, staff. Presentation from staff.
Yes, so this item relates to the first public hearing that we heard this evening. Staff has nothing new to add, but we're happy to entertain any questions that the board may have.
Okay. Who has a question? Smith? Smith, would you like to start off?
Yes, I do. I want to point out, and I want to thank Ms. Dunn for her memory, because the name did ring a bell. Last year in February, Sean's Lawns was removed from the bid process for the new South Norwalk School due to unresolved zoning and conservation commission violations. And so, I just have concerns about this, and, I'd like to be assured that the zoning and conservation violations have been rectified, and, or, maybe you have information to add that, this wouldn't necessarily be an issue on this project.
Yeah, I can take this one, Wilbur. This is part of that problem. This was part of the special use permit. We have to tie in the sewer.
I see.
That's why we were rejected the job overall, because we never satisfied all the issues that were put forth on this plan. And just to give everybody a little background, I didn't really get to speak much on that meeting. I only got about 45 seconds. This parcel was approved for a construction yard through eminent domain when the town took Penna's old yard. However, they weren't able to get a mortgage on the property because of prior contamination that we have thus proved is well beyond 60 years ago and not from this property. So there's kind of a long history here that not everyone understands. They kind of think that we bought this property and we've just been letting it, decay. It's actually the opposite. We bought this property and these conditions were existing, and we've been trying to get through this process, but between COVID happening, a couple of members of our staff having some health complications, I recently took this over within the last year, and now I'm trying to get this to the finish line so we can get this finally all back into status, get our special use permit approved and everything through the zoning and permitting as well. I've been working with Wilbur and Alexis Carachetti, and they've been very helpful in helping me get all this going.
Okay, thank you, because just hearing those names is very reassuring. And just to be clear, so if we do approve this here, it will go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, where they have been following along with the problems that you had and with moving through this to rectify them, correct?
Yes, to my knowledge, I believe they're aware of it.
Yeah.
I believe they're actually the ones that are forcing us to tie in the
Yeah.
sewer. It's not like we want to tie in and they're telling us no. That's part of the zoning and permitting process. They're actually making us tie in.
Okay,
That's
understood.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
to
okay,
add
that's-
to Mr. Wendell's point, conservation notified DPW of this outstanding violation. So in order to get into compliance, they're being required to connect to sanitary sewer. And in order to connect to the sanitary sewer, the extension is necessary.
Okay, perfect. These are the kind of things we like to see happen, is these types of problems rectified. So thank you for explaining.
Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith, are you finished? Okay,
Yes, yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else on the board have any questions? Ms. Dunn, you got some?
No, that was just my question, because
Okay,
I'm very on top of the Kellogg Deering well field in the water, first taxing district water or in that area. And there is a lot of contamination, not that they created it, so I just wanted to make sure that we're all working together and not siloing information, so that's good to hear. Thank you.
great. Thank you. Anybody else on the WPCA board have any questions? Staff or the applicant? No?
Nothing further, Chairman.
I have a few, if everybody else is finished. So, as I look at this map, I see a yellow highlighted, portion of sanitary sewer. Is that the extension?
That's correct. We wanted to
Okay.
make it a little easier to digest, so it's been
Okay.
highlighted, 80
So-
feet or so.
Not a whole lot of sewer there. You're just, going from Pulaski Street up Mueller Street, a short distance.
That's correct.
Okay, and then on the property, I assume you would be responsible for installing your own laterals. Right there,
Correct.
yeah. Okay,
Yes, the applicant through the building permit process would install the sanitary sewer on their property. And through the DPW permit process, they would extend the main and make the connection at the main.
okay. So who's gonna pay for this? Are you
The
paying
cost
for
of
is Sean's Lawns paying for the entire sewer extension?
That's correct.
So.
And the intent is for the Sean's Lawns to donate the sewer main infrastructure to the city to be accepted once it's been installed, inspected, and confirmed that it meets our requirements.
Okay. So, is there any kind of a written agreement between Sean's Lawns and the city spelling out exactly what you just said?
The
Will there be?
permit, the sewer extension policy spells that information out, and that's what we're following through this process.
Okay, are you going to require any kind of a bond?
Yes,
I
through the-
seriously doubt Sean's Lawns is going out of business, but it would behoove us to have a bond if this project is halfway finished and it goes upside down.
Yes, should they get approved through the common council, then the work will be performed under the permit process where we do require bond equivalent to the cost of the construction so that the city is secured should anything go sideways or not go according to plan. We are protected with that bond.
Okay, thank you. So to review, there is capacity in the line. There is capacity in the sewer system. This will not cost the WPCA or the other ratepayers in the town of Norwalk, in the city of Norwalk, any money. All of the costs will be borne by the developer slash contractor, property owner. And the road is gonna be put back DPW to DPW standards. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct. As a requirement of the permit process, they are required to backfill with a temporary trench. And then the city, DPW builds the restoration and performs that final restoration through our road restoration contract.
Who is going to perform the inspection on the sewer line? Air testing, checking grades, making sure there's enough stone around the pipe, making sure the pavement is put back correctly. Is that gonna be a city staff member or an independent outside?
That will be a city staff member. So under the DPW permit staff, we will have an inspector on site to confirm it's installed correctly. And for the testing of the main, that would be hired by the applicant. The owner would hire their own consultant to perform that testing. And DPW staff will be present at that time.
Okay, so, the applicant does not have to pay for inspection because the city's gonna take care of that, but they will take care of the independent testing.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And
Through
somebody,
the permit application fees that are to be paid, that would cover the cost of staff inspection.
okay, so, the DPW staff will also, from the engineering side, will take care of the pavement inspection and make sure the road's put back correctly.
Correct.
And you said earlier, there's a bond in place. If, something goes wrong, it will be fixed.
Correct.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, the motion is to approve this extension at the developer's cost with a bond, refer it to planning and zoning and the Public Works Committee of the Common Council. There is a motion on the floor. There are no further questions. We'll call the question. All in favor, aye, to approve this. I can't see everybody. I see Ostafine, Freyard, Smith, and Dunn. I cannot see Igneri, Manella, and Bovee.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 5:59.
Thank you.
5:59 PM. We'll move on to item D. Is there a motion to authorize the Chief of Operation Public Works to execute orders on contract with Insituform for the sanitary sewer rehabilitation project, an amount not to exceed $300,000? Is there a motion to approve that? Mr. Igneri raised his hand first. Is there any presentation by staff?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So including the board packet was a one-page breakdown of what the $300,000 is going to cover. And basically, there's additional lining on Washington Street that we like to line and rehab and grout with some removal of some laterals. So there's actually a deduction from the contract with Insituform, it's cleanup. And lastly, additional traffic control. So this is about a $6 million project all in, and we anticipate the project closing out around September, the end of September of this year. And this is just final cleanup with the contract to finish it with Insituform. Like I mentioned, add the Washington Street lining and then close out the project.
Are there any questions? From the commission for staff? No? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Also find Freya Igneri, Smith, Manella, Bovee done. That's unanimous, thank you. And it is 6 o'clock. So we'll move on to Roman numeral 7. Old business A. Contract operation reports.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board. So, let's just go over April really quickly, and then we'll speak on the other two items. So, in the month of April, we had a strong month for the collections team. We completed 2.4 miles of CCTV, 4.5 miles of sewer cleaning, 43 manhole inspections, and 2.95 miles of SLRAT. We responded to 20 service calls. Inside the plant walls, we cleaned all 4 final tank launders and both chlorine contact tanks this month. I wanted to mention that we experienced, it is technically in May, but it's pertinent. We experienced a moderately heavy rain about a week ago now, a week and a half, where we got about 2 inches of rain over 2 days. The storm outfall did not activate. The collection system and the plant performed really well, and we had a really good recovery time out in the collection system, which we were able to monitor with the smart covers. So all of the lining work seems to be making an impact, at least as far as we can tell. So very positive outcome there. We conducted 28 IPP inspections this month. We had a fairly strong nitrogen performance of 587 pounds per day for the month. We installed some new or refurbished the sprayer lines on the aeration tanks, which has really minimized scum buildup on those tanks. And so that's been a good improvement, helping with the operations. And then I wanted to mention that for the month of April, we followed all permit requirements. We submitted the net DMR, MOR, and NAR reports to DEEP and the EPA in April. And then if you would like, we can move on to the nitrogen credit program for 24, which we have attached in the agenda. So in the agenda, we have the draft credit exchange invoice for the nitrogen trading program for 2024. So Norwalk came in at an average of 680 pounds per day per month. And so that lands Norwalk at, I believe I counted earlier, 15th in the state, which is worse than previous years from what I was looking at. We're usually somewhere in the ballpark of 5th. I think the factors that really contribute there are all the different transitions between staff and management we've had at the plant over the year, and also the wet weather, which impacts all sites, but it impacts each site differently. So it'd be hard to tell for sure, but it's possible it disproportionately impacted Norwalk. All in all, still a good result. It leaves us it leaves us with an estimated payout of $33,685 when the commission buys the credits, which is usually sometime in the summer. It says August here. So far this year, we're trending lower than that and lower than the beginning of last year significantly, because if you recall, the beginning of last year was very heavy rain and high flow. And since the credits and the program is based off a pounds measurement, high flow directly increases the number of pounds in that calculation. So it's not like a concentration limit where high flow might dilute the wastewater. So high flow has a big impact on these pounds limits. So that is what we have there. Hoping for better this year than last year, but still fairly good performance. And then my last item is the project listed for the 8 pump stations, additional wiring. It is a project we are doing with the WPCA with the intent to install current monitoring and wiring for 8 of the pump stations that will give us additional information back to SCADA, which can be used for troubleshooting and energy consumption monitoring. So that project is approved and underway. So should be happening within the next week or two. We should be getting the work done. So that is all I have. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Steve Rock. I don't hear any questions. Roman numeral 7, item B, staff reports. Munis. It is 6:06.
Okay, the fiscal year 24-25 revenues, expenditures, munis reports. A copy of the monthly update was included in the board package. Did anyone have any questions?
Hearing none, thank you. We'll move on to Roman numeral 7, item C. Discussion on WPCA engineering projects. Number 1 is discussion of sanitary sewer extension request on Boughton Street. Presentation included. It is 6:07.
All right, Mr. Chairman, just give us a minute. We're gonna share our screen. We have a presentation on this topic. Hopefully everybody can see our screen. Mr. Chairman? All right.
Good, thank you.
All right, so as the public hearing was discussed earlier, various property owners on Boughton Street approached the WPCA to request a sanitary sewer extension. So we just want to give a little history of previous extension request and just a little bit through the city process. So items that we're going to discuss is an introduction. We're going to show what the location, where the project site is. We have an estimated project cost. It's concept level that we'll share. We're going to go, Vero Law is on the call with us. They put a couple slides together to discuss the process required for assessment of benefits of new sewer lines. We're going to talk about capital future projects. And also a slide from the WPCA financial model that was presented back in January of this year, and then next steps. So give a little history of the introduction. In September of 2021, the WPCA board approved a private sanitary sewer extension for the development located at 174, 176 Boughton Street. And as the well, doesn't go into detail, but farther down, it was about 330 feet of sanitary sewer extension that was proposed. The request that was made recently was from address numbers 188, 186, 184, 182, 178, and also the developer for 174, 176 Boughton Street. Some of the concerns that the various parcel owners had was groundwater and flood issues along with aging septic systems. So like I mentioned earlier, the original extension scope was approximately 330 feet. The new request would be approximately 850 feet of 8-inch gravity main sewer, along with 4 manholes and approximately 10 sewer laterals. Project unknowns is wastewater flow at this time is unknown. Site conditions, rock ledge on Boughton Street, groundwater impacts, and then all this flow does flow to the Boughton Street pump station. So just to confirm capacity of the pump station as well. Any questions on the introduction? If not, we have an overall site location map that I have on the screen right now, the project area. And then the next slide, we go into a little bit more zoomed in version of the proposed sanitary sewer extension request. The blue and the orange manholes is what was previously requested back in 2021. And then the yellow is the additional request to cover the whole 850 feet of sanitary sewer extension, along with a couple additional pink manholes. And we flagged for everybody's reference where the existing sanitary sewer exists. There's a red and blue manhole, pipe asset 22887. So that's where the current city sewer ends. So the WPCA team estimated project cost based on site conditions, current contracts, or bids received for comparables. We estimate total construction between 1.6 million and 2.4 million, depending on unknowns, such as ledge in the ground, groundwater issues, current bidding market conditions. So those are all factors in considering the range of the cost. Now I would like to introduce Regina Flaherty, who's from Barrow Law. She's on the call to present the next two slides.
So the state of Connecticut and also Newark City ordinances authorized WPCA to recoup the costs of building a sewer extension. And the cost is recouped from the properties that are benefited by the new lines. So prior to any construction of a new sewer line, there has to be a public hearing. And then notice will go to the properties affected by the potential installation of a new sewer line. And it's also published in the newspaper twice before the public hearing. The assessment occurs after the construction of the public hearing. After the construction of the sewer line, and the value of the assessment can exceed the benefit that accrues to the property. So it could include a proportionate share of the planning, the working plans and specifications, damages associated with land acquisition, construction costs, but it's the total cost of the sewer project. And the proportionate share of the assessment for each benefited property can be determined by a number of factors. It could be based on lot size or frontage, property value, or the estimated flow of the sewer. And if we go to the next, right. So after the construction has occurred and after the assessment has been calculated, the WPCA has to hold another public hearing for the proposed assessment. And they have to publish the proposed assessment by filing it with the town clerk at least 10 days prior to the hearing. They then publish the notice of the hearing in the newspaper at least 10 days prior to the hearing, and then mail a notice to the impacted property owners prior to the hearing. Then once the hearing has taken place and the assessment has been finalized, it gets filed with the town clerk. After that filing with the town clerk, within 5 days after the filing, it is going to be sent to the impacted property owners. And those property owners have the right to appeal within 21 days of the filing with the town clerk. The tax assessor is going to record the assessment and within 30 days of the WPCA filing with the town clerk. And that's when they'll start to assess the owners. So the owners have an option of either paying the assessment within 60 days, or they can pay 10 equal annual payments over a 10-year period.
Thank you very much, Gina.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's your presentation. Thank you.
No, we still have a couple more slides, Mr. Chairman.
So that's you, Ralph?
Yes.
Okay.
For reference for the WPCA Board of Directors, we want to share WPCA future capital projects. We have them in buckets of 5-year plan, 10-year plan that were submitted to the Connecticut DEEP as part of the consent order or as part of the collection system master plan, and also the wastewater treatment plant facility plan. So these are various projects that we are going to have to commit to once the deep comes back to the WPCA and approves our plans and the clock, the 5-year and the 10-year clock starts, we put estimated dollars against each project based on the engineer's estimate as part of that plan. So a little history of future capital projects. The other item, this slide just presents from the January 2025 WPCA meeting about the financial model, our commitment to maintaining around a 4% rate increase each year, project capital expenditures over the next few fiscal years, cash funded capital expenditures, ending operating cash, and then days on cash on hand. Target is 210 days. So in 5 years, we're approaching that 210, ending around 214 days of operating cash. So this slide is directly from the financial model presentation. And then next steps, and this is where staff is looking for direction from WPCA board on next direction.
Okay, there was a gentleman who said he forgot to say something. Is he still in the room?
Yes, I am, but that's okay. That's okay. I'll pass on it. It's not important.
Okay, then I'll thank you, and I'll open it up to the board. Does any of the board members have any questions of staff before we get an idea of the direction we're going to provide?
Hey, Ralph, could you put that plan back up there again?
Sure.
There we go. Can you see it, Chris?
Yeah, I can see it. Thanks. That
You're welcome.
that first house on that run there, the one closest, yeah. Doesn't it have a lateral already? Is that part of the 10?
That is part of the 174, 176 parcel that they're looking to develop 5 properties.
No, I don't believe so. That's a house that is connected. And see that missing block? That's the 5th house. I believe your map is wrong. Yes.
Oh, okay, so this is part of.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I think as well. Okay, yeah, it's on. Okay. Yeah.
Appreciate the clarification.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mel. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments? No. Okay.
It's Heather Dunn.
Okay. Ms. Dunn?
I
can't
know
see her.
there were some current issues here with some blight and some garbage and stuff. Which property was that?
That's where every vacant lot is. Not the first one that's blocked, that is a house, but all the green ones that are missing, that's all vacant land. And that is where all the blight goes on and the garbage is dumped and vehicles parked, construction equipment, like dump trucks we're working on today out there along the side of the street and stuff like that.
Yeah, that really needs a change in there because even the kids from school sometimes they just get through there and it's not good. So
I think maybe a little work and a little city oversight in the area might be helpful for some other things, right? I'm done, Jim.
Yeah.
Briar? You're muted.
Yeah, I just had one other question on the blight issue. Has that been reported to anybody, to our blight officers or anything like that? Has
It's
anybody been?
ongoing and between the neighbors and our blight inspectors, and they've been trying to clean it up. Jessica Garnett is on it. Pretty much.
I've contacted Laura Diaz about 100 times over the years, and she sent DPW out TVs, dressers, beds over the years. I mean, it's been years going on now. It's every few weeks it goes on. I walk my dog, so when it's big stuff, let it build
So
up a little bit.
who is the blight officer you've been dealing with?
I just contacted Lori Diaz in Town Hall, who's
Customer service.
customer service in Town Hall for years. I've been contacting her.
And has anybody gotten back to you?
Oh, yeah, they've came out dozens of times and cleaned it up. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So every time you call them, they do come and clean it up?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, all right,
It's just
good.
constant. Yeah.
That's all I was getting at, okay.
Yes, yeah,
Thank
yeah. You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Can I ask a question about that too? I know at one point there were, I know we're off topic, but I know at one point there were, concerns about bad things being left. Has that kind of curtailed? Is it just garbage now, or are you still having health department things that need to be
There
addressed?
is health department things going on because, I don't know what to say at the meeting. I don't want to say anything but people come up there at night
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
partying and they leave sharp things on the ground. My dog stepped on once and got an infection in her foot. There's a lot of sex, like condoms and stuff all over the ground, and I won't say anything.
I was
Well,
trying
think it's
not
good that you
to.
do say, we would like to hear this stuff because.
Well, we would love to have that space
Yeah.
clean out. I mean, if
Yeah.
developing happens there, I'm sure that's gonna be.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to anybody at the police department?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've called.
They're aware, Jim, everybody's kind of involved, not.
Yeah. Dozens of times
but
I've
it's-
called
if
over
there
the
was a
years.
solution.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anything else? No? Okay. Then I'll jump in.
Sorry.
The cost. Who's gonna pay for this? If the cities, this sounds like the request is for the city to pay for this. As Attorney Flaherty correctly noted, the projects should be self-sufficient, as I asked on the Mueller Street project. If the city doesn't pay for it, then who's gonna pay for it? The ratepayers? If the benefited owners don't pay for it, then the city would have to pick up the tab. The city is not allowed to charge a resident more than what the actual apparent benefit is. And the only way you determine what the apparent benefit is to have an independent appraiser. And when you do that, we don't have that number right now. So, rough numbers, there's 10 affected or potentially benefited properties, or did we knock that number down now that Mr. Manella noted that somebody's already connected?
No, I
We
believe,
delete one and we add one.
yeah,
So
I
it's,
believe it's still 10.
Yeah, we're still 10.
There's still 10.
Yeah.
Okay, 10, and you said what, upper limit 2.6 million?
2.4.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Did I have that right? 240,000 or something like that? Per house?
4 million.
Okay. It's very, very difficult for me to imagine how one of those properties would be benefited by $240,000. So, from my perspective, I don't see how the WPCA could support this, except if the residents were willing to absorb that price, and as Attorney Flaherty said, pay that within so many days or installments over a 10-year period, which kind of, like a mortgage on a house not that long ago. That is a lot of money. And also from my perspective, I would say, how much money do you want to invest to get the answers to the questions that I just asked, only to find out that there wouldn't be popular support for the project, or there wouldn't be a willingness to spend that kind of money. Does everybody realize that those are the numbers that we're talking about?
We didn't until we saw that, actually, right? The residents, I don't think any of us imagined it would cost that much
I mean,
to run it down. That's not even hooking to our houses too, so.
That's not, you're right. That's a very good point. You're gonna spend another 20,
It's more
30.
than my house is worth, it would end up being probably by the time it's hooked up.
If you have rock, it could end up costing you 50 grand to connect your house. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
right.
So you folks have come to the WPCA and we're all pro sewer. That's why we're here. I want to say personally, I heard all your stories and I really feel for you. In another life, I used to design septic systems for a living and sewers. And I know the benefit of a sewer. And I know the problems associated with septic systems, especially older systems, especially systems that are inundated with drainage. I can't imagine though for almost $250,000, and as you said, that doesn't include the connection. If the money couldn't be better spent solving a drainage problem, if there was a drainage problem. I don't know if there's a drainage problem, but if there's a drainage problem on Boughton Street, that's something that the city could address, but I don't see a road forward. I'd love to hear from other members of the board on this. With those numbers, I mean, if I was asked, you want the sewer for $240,000, even if my septic system was completely destroyed and, almost impossible to fix, the first thing I would do is, what the resident just said, which is, how much is my house worth? And how much is it gonna be worth if I had a sewer installed? And that's what the apparent benefit appraisal does. It tells you what that apparent benefit is. Those are my feelings. Does anybody, other board members have any feelings? Have considered any of this? Yeah, Mr. Igneri?
There's a piece of property there where 5 other houses are supposed to go up, subdivided.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
And when those homes share in the total expense.
That was still the 240, I believe, or whatever it was. That was only 10 houses, so that person would have to, that owns the land, would have to pay for 5 of them. So that guy's over $1 million then just for, and there's no houses on the land, so it's pretty much impossible.
Well, if you have 15 houses, the cost is coming down per house.
Yeah. We have 10 now, actually, right? Total.
It's still 10. That five house lot right there is inclusive of the 10.
Right. Correct.
There's only 5 existing, so
Yeah.
any proposed would equal 10.
Yeah, so the max division would be 10 as of right now.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
No problem.
I'm sorry, can I just, with, I got thrown out with the number, $2.4 million on the cost of it. What is it driving the number being so high? Sorry to ask the question.
So the estimate was based on some of the recent bids we've received for installing sanitary or drainage.
Yeah.
And unknowns, ledge, the depth. Sanitary sewer, I think the existing is about 8 feet deep.
Is it right now on the one that is currently about?
Yeah, it's about 8 foot deep is the existing manhole.
Yeah.
And if you hit ledge, you have to, so the typical excavation, you can go 6 inches below the pipe. If you hit ledge, you have to over excavate an additional foot. So because with extra bedding material, your material on top.
Yeah.
So with all that is that's why there's a big range right now.
Yes.
But with those unknowns, this is a pretty, especially with what Ralph was saying with the, contingency factors and what the bids have been coming back with for recent construction. That's a pretty solid range at a high level. And then we also would have to get it, designed, right? So there's a, 75 to 100,000 right there off the top. So it's construction wise, you're still ranging about 1.2 to call it 2 million, but in total with the engineering design bidding services, it's your total price kind of goes up. So,
and is it so? So is it that the owner has to absorb the whole cost, or the city could help us with some of them?
The way I look at it is, I can't imagine you guys are in favor of spending that much money, but, and there are some costs missing here. I don't see construction inspection, which, police time, that might be all covered in the 30% contingency. That might cover it, but, maybe there's another option that if somebody put pen to pencil without spending too much money, because if it's gonna be a dud anyway, why go down that road? But low pressure sewers would allow you to not cut so deep into the ledge. I don't know what the grades are, how deep the gravity sewer is proposed, but a low pressure sewer would allow you to put the sewer in a small pipe, only 4 feet deep, and it could kind of follow the terrain. So if there's deep cuts and that's what's driving in rock, and that's what's driving the cost of this, there might be an opportunity to reduce the cuts in rock and reduce the excavation, and maybe get the price down to something manageable, because I could really sympathize, and I completely understand, but what a burden it would be to pay these kinds of fees to get a sewer. But I also understand that the way you folks describe your lots, they're wet, there's rock, they're old, they're subject to drainage from upstream properties. When you put all those things together, repairing or installing a new septic system in those conditions is also going to be very cost prohibitive. So if you consider a low pressure sewer, if the cuts are deep, perhaps the costs start to even out. You're still up against the benefit appraisal, where the city will recoup its costs and is not allowed to charge you more than something is worth. So for example, if they came down your street and they chose the most modest home on the road, and the benefit of having a sewer for that house is, pick a number just for the sake of discussion, $40,000. Well, the city cannot charge you $50,000. They can't charge you 50 grand because that exceeds the apparent benefit. So the city's not allowed to charge you more than something is actually worth, which is of course meant to protect you. But in this case, it might thwart your efforts. So Ralph, were you was the city staff the people who came up with these estimates?
Correct. It was a team effort.
Team effort. So residents, was there an outside consultant on call helping you?
No, city staff and
City
comparison
staff.
of, yeah, city staff and comparing DPW, WPCA and comparing with recent bids over the last couple of years.
Okay, when you say recent bids, you're talking about recent sewer bids comparable to this project?
That is correct.
Okay, so they're big numbers, but if you're comparing apples to apples, those are the numbers. That's what it costs to do business in Norwalk, I guess, if those are the numbers.
Is there any way to, I'm sorry, is there any way to explore the option of a shallow
Okay,
sewage?
so in general, understand that everybody would have to put a pump on their property, and the cost of buying the pump is over $10,000 right there, and so installing it is 20, and then you're gonna spend 30 grand per hookup easily. It's gotta be wired, you're gonna use electricity, if there's a storm and the power goes out, you can't flush the toilet, you got about a day's storage, hopefully the power comes back on. There are negatives to that. But the positive is if this design includes a deep cut in rock, you can eliminate that. So, you could look at those numbers, but what number are you gonna use? $1,000 a foot? The road's gonna have to be put back. That's gonna be a project cost. There's gonna be inspection services. The police are gonna be there directing traffic. So, you know, you could see if you would eliminate the rock, which is probably the most expensive aspect. If you were planning on putting a gravity sewer in at 4 feet deep, and these are your numbers, don't even bother. So, any other members of the board have any questions or comments?
Karen, I'm not sure if you can see, but Mr. Manelli has his hand out.
Excuse me?
Is there city water there?
Yes. There is city water. So
My house is on city water.
so it's about 42 below, right? Probably didn't find ledge in there. So it's 42 inches below grade. So that could be action then. It's all the way to the end, right? It's all the way to the end of the street.
All your properties sit higher than the road?
Yes.
Yeah.
It goes up, so it's coming from the last house, there is gravity going down to where the existing where the sewage end currently. So there's gravity coming that direction.
Houses above the road surface?
Yes. They're all
So the houses are high.
higher, yeah, they're all elevated on the hill, so we have a pitch.
Yeah.
Everybody can.
Probably about 12, well, my house, we're pretty set back, so I would say compared to the road, I'm about, if I had to take a guess, 12, my house is about 12
Yeah.
feet above road level. And then you got the hill, Brian,
Correct.
way up higher, that's how it travels
Yeah.
through our properties, the water basically.
So it could be benefits of the shallow.
Ralph, does the WPCA or the city of Norwalk, do they require basement service? So in other words, you know what I mean? Does the sewer have to be lower than the first floor, lower than the basement, or just lower than the first floor?
First floor, right?
The
Because there's a lot of houses with slab on grade in Norwalk.
yeah, that would fall under the building department's requirements, but there are a lot of properties without basements and they don't want.
If somebody wants a wash machine in the basement, they can install a pump in the basement if that was an issue.
I have
Still have a basement.
I have a basement with a washing machine.
Is it below grade, your basement, or is
Actually,
it's a level?
It's level in, but the
Yeah.
back of it is below grade.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're lower level, so like my property, you step right out from the basement to the ground level. And I think everybody it's the same, so, yeah, so we're gonna have a deep basement cellar, so we are all, yeah. So I think we got some benefit of gravity there, and.
My other question is, if it's really unfeasible for that, could somehow something be done with that vat that collects the water up Brian McMahon, that since that got done, that's what's coming down the hill, sinking our houses and underwater because of that. It wasn't like that 20 years ago. And then the AstroTurf of the football field doesn't take in the water, and the pitch is away from the school to us. So we're getting the double whammy. We're getting all the water from the school, and we're on septic, and now we're screwed. And it wasn't like that if that wasn't done. Whoever engineered that didn't do a correct job. And they sunk it, they didn't take our houses into consideration whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to actually, sometimes when a heavy rain, it does like a river coming down, because it overflows when it fills up. And then when it doesn't overflow, it takes probably 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks for all the water to come down, and it just goes down to the properties, and saturate the
Even if
soil.
that was remedied, that would help. It wouldn't be that important for the sewer, is all I was, for me, actually.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so,
Darren, could I just
yeah, go
jump
ahead,
in
Mr.
here a
Byron,
second?
please, jump in.
All of a sudden, I think when I started looking at these numbers now and listening to the other alternatives and all, I get the feeling that I'd be hard pressed to vote on this right now with a lot of the. It seems like we have a lot of things that are still up in the air. Now, I am by no stretch of the imagination an expert on the sanitary sewers and piping and all this other stuff. But just from a strict cost standpoint, we're bringing up other alternatives and saying, well, that's too expensive, or this is might be worthwhile. Every time I hear it might be worthwhile, or this might be a solution, I don't know whether we've got the whole, whether Ralph has, dismissed some of these other arguments and said, no, this is the only approach that we have to do this, and this is what the cost is. If that's the case, then I'd have to say no, because the city just cannot afford to start, in putting these kind of installations in. We'll go broke in a week if we have more situations that come up like this.
Yes, Ralph, you're correct. They're not asking for a motion. They're asking us for direction when we start
That's
this
correct.
off. So, I would recommend that the direction be, see if you can get this down to 50 grand. If you can't, don't spend too much time on it. And I picked that number because I think there might be, maybe, a $50,000 benefit. One of these properties could be worth $50,000 more if there was a sewer available. So I'm just pulling that number out of my hat. If you can get this job down to $500,000, look to shave it, but it's really hard to believe that you presented us with almost $250,000 a house to get it down to 20% of that. That's going to be a tough ask. So if you can't do that, don't. That would be my recommendation.
I would agree with that. I think we've got to come. We just can't live with this kind of a number right now.
Anybody else?
I think a lot of the people wouldn't have that kind of money anyway, that'd be chunks of our retirement and all that kind of stuff. Basically.
It's a real challenge for us.
I wouldn't want, personally, if it was come to even quarter of that, I'd rather sell my house and not do it and get on Dodge. That's straight up honesty.
Yeah. Well, we'll hope we could, get help on this, hopefully find a way to get into a different plan, I will say. Just want to say this, I'm a contractor as well, and I have equipment for excavation, and I don't know what the process is, in terms to public work bidding and all that. I have worked with the town of Norwalk and Darien as well, and I'm honored there. I live there, so I could work with the town and try to get some earth movement and some excavation on my end as well, if it's something that will help us, to get the project done. But we would love to get tied into the system if possible, because we do have problems with the current systems we have.
Okay,
Good.
any other comments or questions from the public
Uh,
or commissioners?
Ralph,
Yes,
you
sir.
there?
Yep.
Can I take another look at this, like with you guys offline? Can I do that?
As long as there's not enough commissioners with you when you do that to constitute a quorum.
Okay,
That will be an unnoticed meeting. If you meet with Ralph, that would be fine.
okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Flaherty.
That's correct.
So are we gonna table this then?
It's
tonight?
not even, we don't even have to table it because there was no motion asked for. I think we could, we've provided the staff with direction that they've requested. Would you agree, Ralph, or do you think you need something more?
Just to get clarification, you're looking at staff to look at other options as well besides gravity?
Try to get that. on there.
Whatever, yeah, whatever you want, whatever you can do, whatever you want to do. The thing that I would suggest is, certainly we don't invest $75,000 to $100,000 in engineering something that we don't know if anybody can afford. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So, if and we also don't want to take staff away from the zillion other things that they're supposed to do. So if you can look at this and talk to Chris, he's a registered professional engineer as well as a contractor, so may have some ideas or some value engineering there.
Agreed.
Great.
But for right now, it's not looking good. I think we probably all agree on that. It might get better though. I mean, there's always a chance and always a way. So, that would be my direction, and if anybody disagrees or has a different direction, please speak up. I'm just one guy.
No, I agree with you. I think that let's let Ralph take another bite of the apple and see where we go on this, because it just doesn't make any sense the way it is right now.
And thank you, Mr. Frere, and to the affected residents in the room on the meeting here today. All of our meetings are public. You can attend through Zoom, or you can stop down South Smith Street like you did today.
Right.
You're more than welcome to attend and hear our deliberations. Okay? And I thank you for coming and your interest in the sewer.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think it's time to move on to item Roman numeral 7C2, discussion on WPCA engineering projects. It is 6:49.
All right, how's it going? Beacon Street Sanitary Sewer Project was recently put out to bid last week. We're looking at a bid opening of June 11th. Hopefully get some good competition and some good prices for that specific project. Again, we're looking at a timetable once construction starts for about 365 working days. We'll keep you guys in the loop on how the bidding process goes. Going to be a good project.
Great. Any questions? Hearing none. Item 3, Hubble Lane Sewer Relief Project.
The Hubble's Lane sewer relief project is progressing to 90% design. We have a meeting later this week to discuss the East Wall and East Avenue intersection that had to have a redesign due to some utility conflicts. And then the final settling tanks, that design is progressing. We've done field investigations that have been completed now, and we're progressing towards 10 to 30%.
Great, thank you. Any questions on item 3 or 4? No. Moving to Roman numeral 7, D1, it is 650.
Yep, I'm just gonna share my screen. We're making a lot of progress with the Samus and Bell Island Sewer Shed Rehabilitation Project. The top table, as you can see, we have a total project of just over 70,000 linear feet of pipe, various sizes from 8-inch to 24-inch. And we've completed almost 65,000 linear feet. We're at 92%. And then this is with in situ form. We're continuing to, right now they have crews doing manhole rehabilitation and also lateral grouting. And we're about 58 and 44% on those items. And like I mentioned earlier tonight, we're looking at a September 30th completion of the project.
Any questions? No.
Item 2, the pump station, Old Charlie Way site improvements have started with the fencing, grading and paving. We commenced that work last week. All the permits were submitted and approved. And the pump station at Fort Point Improvements, the WPCA has been working with the Walk Bridge team to discuss the coordination efforts on starting that work shortly. Next item.
Any questions? No. No questions? Are you done?
Okay. No, yep, that's for,
Okay,
as far as
sorry.
construction projects, yes.
Didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that.
No.
Okay, item E then, sewer use appeals, adjustments.
Sewer use appeals adjustments update. To date, we are at $82,724.
Thank you. Any questions on E? From the board? No. Roman numeral 8. Any discussions? That's titled discussions. I always ask, on the agenda or not on the agenda? Anybody have anything they'd like to discuss? No? Item number 9, it is 6:53. And the issue is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? No, everybody wants to stay forever, huh? Mr. Bovee. All right, I'm sorry, Ms. Dunn, your camera was off. Bovee got it. All in favor? Aye. I'm not gonna do roll call. It's unanimous. We are adjourned. It is 6:53 PM. Thank you very much. See you guys in June.